Hello. Sound check. Hello.
Please bow our head and put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Thank you, Lord, for gathering us here today in seminar. May we inculcate our minds and the lessons learned today and apply them with the guidance of your love. May I realize that everything happened because of your all-abounding love. We thank the people who made this seminar a success, our reliable resource speaker, the diligent organizer of this activity, the generous administration, and all willing participants who had attended this noble endeavor. May we be able to pass on to other people the knowledge and the lessons learned. May we do so with the teaching that you taught us to love our neighbor as our own. In Jesus' name, amen.
Hindi ko mabago-bago. Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to our last day of seminar for the month of June. So, free webinar on international taxation and transfer pricing. Para sa akin, habang ginagawa ko yung PowerPoint, ito yung pinaka parang enjoyable na seminar. Why? Kasi ito na yung pinaka-application ng mga theories, no? So, I would like to welcome all the participants for this free webinar, and I would like to call on the registered participants, no, who have signed in already. Abad Annabel Mulanda, sabi ko perfect attendance si Annabel, no? Aglim Shikaina Grace, ganun din. Alcantara Ginit Joy from Pangasinan. Si Aglim Shikaina from Mangaldan, Pangasinan. Alcantara Ginny Joy, San Carlos City, Pangasinan. Amistoso Kerlin, Caloocan City. Balmenia Maria Teresa, Ortigas Center, Pasig. Belen Liesel, General Trias, Cavite. Caballero Ruela, Santo Tomas, La Union. Kabilan Rhea, Puerto Princesa City. Kakayan Christian Brian, o sige, Christian, kasama din natin to sa live streaming. San Carlos City, Pangasinan. Cantor Carl Joseph, San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. Kapwa May Jane, Dagupan City. Cruz Bryce Anthony, Orbistondo, Pangasinan. Cruz Jidaya, Lingayen, Pangasinan. Damasco Jennifer, Dagupan City. Di Guzman Fem, San Carlos City, Pangasinan. Di Guzman Jeya Mercado, Dagupan City, Pangasinan. Jocades Ryan, no? Si Ryan, perfect din siya, no? Pavia, Iloilo. Doroy Mary Jane, Makati City. Fabia Gwyneth Amor, Ago, La Union. Ferrer K. Ann, Poblacion Weste. Saan kaya yan? Walang city. Formoso, si Sir Ray. Antipolo, Brittany, Antipolo City. Frias Erica, Basista, Pangasinan. Jelly J.R., San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. Hanginon Alay Sabel, Bagong Silangan, Quezon City. Lalas Angel Rhea, Mangaldan, Pangasinan. Lalong Isip Loida, Sampaloc, Manila. Lamayo Maria Cindy, San Pedro, Laguna. Latori Mary Grace, Santa Barbara, Pangasinan. Lonon Bernadette, Cagayan de Oro City. Always din si Ma'am Bernadette, no? Magnayi Eugenia, yung kasama din natin siya sa live streaming. Candelaria, Quezon Province. Magnayi Merdel, San Jose, Batangas. Pahadora Mariela or Bistondo, Pangasinan. Marides Patrick Subic, Zambales. Pelayo Jan Andre, Quezon City. Rada Maria Ginubatan Albay, Ramos Monica, San Carlos City, Pangasinan. Rodas Pamela Jane, Dagupan City, Pangasinan. Rosario Hana Lorraine, Binmali, Pangasinan. Saldo Rayson, Batasan Hills, Quezon City. Salisa Arlene, San Jose del Monte, Bulacan. Salvamanti Genevieve, Sampaloc, Manila. Sigera Joy, Fairview, Quezon City. Subarjaga Chuchi, Cagayan de Oro. Tagawa Cristina, Rosario, Cavite. Vidal Alejandro, Dagupan City. Villoser Nadine, Mangaldan, Pangasinan. Costado Eduardo, Manila. Malabid Minilio Jr., Yao Lilian, si Ma'am Lilian, Tondo, Manila. Salom Esperanza, Makati City. Coino Adelfa, Peralta May, Jayan, Bea, Pangasinan. Monterola Razel, Colegio de Dagupan. Galletes Ayesa, Colegio de Dagupan. Fernandez Jerica May, Colegio de Dagupan. Sanchez Lenlen, Rizal. Annie, Jelaine, Alexis, also Pangasinan. May pahabol pa. Okay? Si Escobar, Alea, Cassandra. RC Joshua, Mejia, Reza Joy, Pangasinan. Olympia Linde, Pangasinan. Puntawi, Russell Jan, Pangasinan. Delgado Chante, Di Guzman, Kathleen Joy. Rovivar Robert, San Mateo Rizal. Hoson Richel, kilala ko na siya, no? Sa Tandang Sora. No? Humamoy Mileris, Pangasinan. Okay? So, thank you very much and welcome to our last day of seminar ngayon. Although sa June, meron tayo na updates, no? 2 days yung updates natin in transfer pricing. So, our norm for today or our rules is for you to answer the poll questions that we will be giving you as we go along with our topic. No? And reserve your question after the lecture at 12 o'clock. We will be answering your questions. So we have our topics for this morning. We have international taxation and the open economy. We have to discuss the concept of international taxation and also the economic taxation. Why? This is all in relations with transfer pricing because transfer pricing is economic taxation. Another topic is compliance with international tax laws and regulations and taxation of foreign income. And then we will discuss also the FATCA. Ano ba tong FATCA? This is Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act and this is loans or being passed by the U.S. government. No? Ito yung Tax Compliance Act of the U.S. citizen working in different parts of the world. And our topics, nasabi ko na naka-anchor to lahat sa transfer pricing, pero may kasama ng tax planning. Why? Because it is during the tax planning na ginagawa yung iba't ibang mga scheme and of course, using transfer pricing. No? So, we will discuss tax avoidance and the exchange of information. Exchange of information is very important and this has been concluded by many countries. No? And of course, tax planning. So to start with, international taxation refers to treaty provisions. Why? Because there is really no international tax laws applicable to all countries in the world. No? So international taxation refers to the study of treaties. Why? Because the study of treaties deals with the avoidance of double taxation. Because according to study, double taxation is not helpful or it is harmful to the economy. Kasi if the taxpayer will pay twice of the income that they earn, then nobody would like to earn income anymore because it will just go to the government. So in broader terms, it includes domestic legislation covering foreign income of residents. The domestic legislation of every country also includes uh, provisions on how to tax foreign persons earning income in that country. No? Kaya nagkaroon ng sinasabi natin na international because the domestic legislation also deals with the income of those persons or companies who are not citizens of their country. So foreign income of residents or worldwide income and domestic income of non-residents. So yung mga non-residents that go to a certain country and earn income, itatax sila ngayon nung country na pinuntahan nila. No? So, sa isang bansa, dalawa yung itatax niya. Yung kanyang residents na nag-earn ng income worldwide at kanyang non-resident that earns domestic income. Why? Kasi hindi naman niya pwede i-tax yung non-resident on their worldwide income, only domestic income. Samantalang yung resident, pwede mo siyang i-tax worldwide income. No? Okay. So, international taxation and the open economy. Pag sinabi mo na open economy, anong ibig sabihin? Open economy is a type of economy where not only domestic factors, but also entities in other countries engage in trade or products, goods, and services. So, pag sinabi mong open economy, hindi lang domestic, no? Ano na siya, open na siya sa lahat. Kaya nga, transfer pricing is economic taxation, no? So, open na yung economy, lalong-lalo na ngayon, one world na lang tayo, lalong-lalo na ngayon, digitized economy na tayo. No? So, there's more so that we are in the open economy. So, trade can take the form of managerial exchange, technology transfers, and all kinds of goods and services. Actually, sa business, walang limit eh. No? Ano ba yung hindi mo pwedeng ibenta? Yun lang mga illegal. And even illegal, binibenta din. No? Kahit na hinuhuli, binibenta pa rin, just like drugs. No? So, ang dami na pwedeng ibenta, including the services. No? So, managerial exchange, technology transfer, and all kind of goods and services. Ngayon, pahapyaw mamaya, pakita namin sa inyo yung initiative ng OECD, especially kung ano yung trend or the future in taxation. No? So, example, certain exception exists that cannot be exchanged. Railway services of a country cannot be traded with another country to avail the service. No? So, yun yung mga services na kung baga sa immovable kasi gumagamit siya ng assets na immovable or fixed. No? Yung railway. Pero pagdating naman sa mga ship at saka sa kaya nga iba yung taxation natin sa mga ship at saka sa mga aircraft. Saan yung ating place of taxation sa mga ship at saka with what we learned yesterday sa effective place of management nila, no? Kasi iba yung nature ng business nila, no? So there are a number of economic advantages for citizens of a country with an open economy, no? Pero ngayon lahat naman open na no? Kasi global na nga global na tayo. So primary advantage is the citizen consumers have much larger variety of goods and services from which to choose. Alam nyo kung hindi open yung economy and then we depend only in our country, you can just imagine what are the products that we produce, no? At yun lang i-consume natin. No? So we will be deprived of the good, of the many products, especially China, that China keep on producing goods. Samantalang tayo hindi naman, no? So we cannot enjoy or we cannot consume the goods produced by other countries. No? So yun yung primary advantage ng citizen with an open economy kasi pwede niyang makonsume yung goods coming from other countries. But just imagine yung mga product ng China ngayon, ang dami, no? Yung mga vehicle nila, yung kuryente lang, no? Electronic na mga vehicles, ang dami nila ngayon. Iba na hitsura ng mga bike, no? Mga e-bikes, mga motorsiklo, iba na. So consumers have opportunity to invest their savings outside the country. Pagka open economy, pwede kang mag-invest outside the country. No? Pero there are economic disadvantages also ng open economy. No? Because open economies are interdependent on others and this exposes them to certain unavoidable risks. No? So may mga risk din pag open yung economy. Kasi bakit? Naging interdependent ka na sa other countries. So pag dependent ka na halimbawa sa product ng iba, and then bigla sila magtaas ng presyo, wala kang magawa because you are already a consumer of their product. No? So the international dimension of taxation in the development of a country's tax laws. Para sa akin, ang tax laws, no, are very dynamic. Kaya nga, sabi nga nila, nobody can claim mastery in taxation. Why? Because the tax laws of every country keep on changing. Why it keeps on changing? Because it answers a certain demand, no? At para sa akin yung tax laws, hindi lang tax laws, even ibang klaseng batas, no? It answers needs of the people. Kaya dynamic siya, no? It keeps on changing. So the international dimension plays increasingly important role that significantly restrict the rules that might be adopted if regard were had only to domestic considerations. Kaya nga ipakita ko sa inyo yung initiative ng OECD mamaya at the end of our lecture because hindi lang domestic yung ating considerations. More so now that we are living in a digitized economy that we have to be aware and updated of what is happening or what is going to happen in the future so that nakapag-prepare tayo, no? Hindi tayo caught unaware and unprepared. So the increasing role of international factors is mainly attributable to the globalization of the world economy. No? So, yun na yung sabi nila na in the 1960s, when the globalization was introduced, we are not ready. That was 1960, 60 years ago. Can we say it na hindi pa rin tayo ready up to now? If we are not ready up to now, what will happen to us? No? So we have to be ready and we have to be proactive. Dapat alam natin, no? So that we can thrive in this world. Otherwise, anong gagawin natin? Matulog na lang sa isang tabi. No? That's why, alam nyo, itong ginawa kong free seminar, this is just an opportunity given to those who will grab it, no? Or gusto nilang pakinabangan. That's why makita mo talaga, no, yung sa lugar, yung mga tao na proactive and who really wanted to invest in the future. No? Ano na sila, yung ginagrab nila yung opportunities. But how about those na hindi proactive? Ay, hindi po namin yan kailangan. Ay, wala yan sa amin. Bakit? Kasi domestic lang yung aming mga, no, wala naman kami kliyente ganyan, no? Hindi nila iniisip yung mas malawak at saka yung opportunities that will come or yung malaki pa. Hari nag-ano naman, oh. Ano to? Ay, pumasok sa, doon ka. Ayun, wala na. Pumapasok sa computer, naka-internet eh. So, importance of international taxation. Why is it that international taxation is important? Because there is international trade and that existed since the birth of nations. Kailan pa ba ang international trade? If you try to look at, tinignan ko kasi yung the oldest na corporation, 1600 pa, no? And up to now, na-preserve pa nila yung logo nila. Ano yun? What kind of corporation is that? Yung sa Switzerland, no? Yung very common din sa atin ngayon, yung nagmamanufacture ng bear brand natin, na ano? Yung kanyang logo is yung bird's nest, no, na nakaganon sa nest. Matagal na yan, 1600 pa yan na logo, no. So international trade existed since the birth of nations. Why? Kasi may needs na mga tao. So there has been accelerating growth not only in trade but also in finance and investment, no? Since the end of World War II. Kailan ba nag-end yung World War II? 1945, no? 1945. So how many years ago? 75 years na. Tama ba? 55 plus 21. 76 years ago. And yet, ang dami pang naghahunt ng mga treasure na iniwan ng Hapon dito nung Second World War, no? So the growth has far outstripped the general growth in the world economy, no? So yung growth ng world economy since then, 76 years ago, sobra, no? If you try to look at the world 76 years ago, ibang-iba siya ngayon in terms of technology, in terms of goods and services, ibang-iba na, no? So one of the important cause, the gradual removal of barriers to international trade. Kasi yung barrier to international trade, hindi naman din siya healthy, no? So it deprive the other nations to enjoy also the product of others. Especially kung kagaya sa Pilipinas, hindi naman tayo high-tech. No? So kung hindi tayo open sa ibang bansa, who will bring the advances in technology sa atin? So we will not enjoy. No? So ano yung mga negotiating rounds that nag-effort sila for the removal of barriers on international trade? Ito yung General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, no? Sa 1995 pa yan. At sino yung nag-administer niyan? The World Trade Organization or WTO. And even yung isang initiative pa nila, yung parang ginawa nilang uniform or hindi magkakalayo yung mga charges natin when it comes to customs duties. At saka yung management ng mga port, no? Sila din ang nag-i-introduce niyan para hindi mahirapan yung mga traders. Okay, so removal of exchange control in most industrial countries commenced from the floating of exchange rates in the early 1970s. Bakit natin nag-uusapan itong history? Because you will not understand the present kung hindi mo aralin muna yung history. Ano ba siya noon? No? Kasi sabihin mo hindi na importante yan kasi kung ano yung ngayon, ito na lang. But you will not understand. And of course, titingnan mo rin kung ano yung magiging future, no? Kasi ganun yun past, present, future yung aralin mo para alam mo yung trend, no? Has been a notable factor leading to the globalization of world capital and financial markets. International organization most involved here have been the IMF and the Bank for International Settlements. Ito yung mga organizations na involved sa international organizations. Okay. So, may mga investment, karamihan, sino mga investors? Yung mga may pera din, no? So, main multilateral posts. Recent foreign direct investment laws of investing countries, investment rules for various institutional investors. Alam nyo ang mga law natin on investment. Sumasama na lang yan, nagiging, kung baga sa sumusunod na lang sila of what is really happening, no? Kasi yung mga investor may pera na yan. Gi-invest nila in some countries. So pagkapasok niyan sa isang country, hindi pa yan alam ng gobyerno kung anong gagawin. So pag nandyan na, saka pa lang yan gagawa ng laws to regulate, no? So there are multilateral agreement on investment, no? Kaya mamaya papakita namin sa inyo yung initiative ng OECD, no? So for the growth ng international transactions, nag-grow din yung international tax laws natin, no? Kaya nga sa transfer pricing, kailan ba in-introduce yung transfer pricing? Although 1960s, ang US may transfer pricing na, no? Pero sa Pilipinas, kailan na yung transfer pricing na guideline? 2013 lang, no? So international tax laws also evolved, no, with international trade, finance, commercial laws. Kasi kailangan siya, naka-incorporate siya with our legal system. No? Restrictions in other areas reduce or remove. No? So taxation brought increasingly into focus, but there is a significant difference in the tax case. But ngayon, dahil globalization na rin, pag tinitingnan natin, almost yung initiative ng OECD, yun na rin yung ina-adapt. Why? Kasi yung initiative ng OECD are consensus already of nations, no? Tingnan mo bago sila makagawa ng mga proposals nila or mga template nila or model template. May mga deliberations coming from different countries, no? So, sila na ngayon yung nakapattern na sa kanila yung saka sila yung nagmamana ng Center for Tax Policy and Administration of the World. Okay. So, it may be possible to liberalize or abolish rules in other areas affecting international transactions. Kaya nga, kahit na maraming mga proposals on the taxation ng international transactions, anong nagpe-prevail? Transfer pricing, no? Kaya nga sabi ko, tinutukan ko yung transfer pricing since 2008. I know transfer pricing will stay. Kung another 20 years lang, no? Yun na lang yung the most na sabi ko, pakikinabang ko yung transfer pricing. Para sa akin lang yun, transfer pricing is here to stay, no? Kaya nga, if you invest your talent, your money, your effort in transfer pricing, pakinabangan nyo ba yung transfer pricing? No? Kasi di pa ito mawawala. Taxation needs to be retained in some form for the financing of governments. Very important yung taxation. Otherwise, madidrain yung finances ng government. The government will not, cannot give their services to the people without revenue, no, to support it. So taxation is very important. The national challenge for taxation is development of system that does not act as an undue impediment to international transactions while protecting the revenue of its state. Kaya nga, ang nakita talaga ng OECD dito and consensus also of the different industrial countries, yung transfer pricing, no? Kaya tutukan ninyo yung transfer pricing. Papakinabangan nyo talaga siya. That's why naka-anchor lahat yung topics natin on transfer pricing. And even international taxation, naka-anchor tayo sa transfer pricing. Okay, so challenge is present for all kind of taxes. Lahat naman ng taxes, especially value-added tax, no? So, pero income tax is the major source of revenue and most complex tax in industrial countries. Try to look at the chart ng collection ng BIR. Sabi ko, we have 7 national taxes collected. But the most, or the greater part, the greatest contribution coming from income tax. Bakit? Saan ba nanggagaling yung mga collection natin sa income tax? On the withholding tax on compensation, income tax yan. And that is collected monthly. So that your salary this month, i-remit na yan sa gobyerno. 10th day of the following month, nandoon na yung contribution mo as an employee. No? So 50 to 60% of the collection is coming from income tax. Okay. So income tax is usually the major source of revenue kahit dito sa Pilipinas, no? Ang VAT natin something like mga 14% lang yung contribution niyan. Pero yung income is 50 to 60, no? So tax causes the most problems in the international arena. Why? Kasi ang double taxation palagi nangyayari sa income tax, no? Kasi ita-tax na ng isang bansa yung kanyang resident ng income, for the income earned, itatax din siya ng source country kung saan siya nag-earn ng income. No? Kaya doble yung tax niya. Okay. So, income tax may not be the most important tax in terms of revenue sa iba. But sa Pilipinas, income tax is the most important tax. It is looked to as serving the role in the future, and it will also generally be the tax of greatest concern for foreign investors and expatriate personnel. Especially na yung income tax, may mga proposal tayo ngayon ng global income tax, no? But wala pang, kumbaga sa wala pang clear na guidelines, no? So the challenge for international taxation, of course, kahit anong bagay may mga challenges, no? Kahit sa personal na lang natin, the very simple na lang, no? Very simple yet complicated. There are also challenges. Much more so, international taxation. Lalong-lalo na, international taxation yan, iba't ibang bansa, no? So, two main categories of international tax rules. First, there is taxation of persons from outside a country. That this makes the challenges difficult, no? Kasi may taxation of persons outside the country who work, no? So enter into transactions, have property or income in the country. Pero citizen mo siya or resident mo siya. Pero nagtatrabaho siya doon sa ibang bansa, nagkaroon siya ng property, nagkaroon siya ng income. And then second, there is taxation of persons who belong to a country and work inter-transactions or have property or income abroad, no? So ito naman yung bansa mo, ay yung tao mo na resident mo, pupunta sa ibang bansa, magkaroon ng trabaho, transactions, property, or income. Yung number one, ito yung persons na taga-ibang bansa, trabaho sa bansa mo, and then nagkaroon ng transactions, property, income. No? So, pareho mo silang itatax. No? And yet, yung person coming from other country, itatax din siya ng country where he belongs, no? Kaya doble-doble yung taxation. Okay. So, the term used in international taxation denote concept of persons belonging to country and residence. Kaya nga, ang classification natin, resident, no? At saka non-resident. No? So, that would indicate particular person kung belong ba siya to our country or hindi, no? So, yung mga important na definition natin or terms, yung source. Pag sinabi mo kasing source, galing yan dyan sa kung saan galing yung income, no? So, yung source can be domestic and foreign. Pwedeng manggagaling siya sa bansa mo, pwedeng manggagaling siya sa ibang bansa, no? To indicate whether particular income is sourced inside or outside a country. Okay. Why very important yung source inside or outside the country? Because pag resident mo yung itatax mo, taxable siya inside and outside the country na income. Pero pag non-resident siya, hindi mo resident, but earned income in your country, itatax mo siya only on income earned inside the country. No? So yun po yung importance bakit na dapat na-classify mo kung resident pa siya o non-resident. Okay. Okay, so two categories arise in all areas and types of taxation. No? So ano yung mga issues sa income tax? Taxation of domestic income of non-resident. Taxation of foreign income of residents. Yan yung issues. Bakit? Diyan nag-overlap yung taxing rights eh. Ano yung tinatawag na taxing rights? Yung rights of the country to tax that resident or non-resident. No? So diyan nag-overlap, especially sa income tax. No? So in both categories, main problem is potential for double taxation or double non-taxation of the income. Kaya yung mga tax treaties, no, instead of double taxation naman ang nangyari, double non-taxation. No? So we will discuss that later part. No? So more than one country seek to tax without reference to tax levied in another country. Kasi wala naman siya pakialam kung anong tax ang kukolektahin ng ibang bansa. Basta kung ano yung nandyan sa bansa niya, kukolektahin niya. No? And although often it will be the result of increased opportunities for tax planning or tax cheating on the part of taxpayers that international transactions offer. No? So anong sinasabi dito? There is a room or avenue for tax planning. That's why pag ikaw ay isang business entity and you plan to open or to branch out in different countries, unang-unang mong titingnan yung tax compliance with their tax laws, no? So may tax planning ka talaga. At ang tax planning, nadagdagan pa ng tax cheating, no? On the part of the taxpayers. So double taxation is likely to act as barrier to international transactions, no? So, double taxation naging barrier siya. Why? Kasi, burden siya eh, no? Ibig sabihin, sa isang transactions, if you have net income, halimbawa ng $100, at then magkaroon ng double taxation, sa isa it's 30%, sa isa is 25%, that's already 55%. Magkano na lang matira sa iyo? 45%. Mas malaki pa yung kinita ng tax authority kaysa sa iyo, no? So, anong mangyayari? It is a barrier kasi tatama rin yung negosyante. So the nations of the world are generally agreed on the desirability of removing such barriers as a means of increasing global welfare. Kasi, kumbaga sa very burdensome, mabigat, no? So, nagkakasundo-sundo yung mga, syempre, players natin or mga countries natin to remove the barriers of double taxation. Okay. So, double non-taxation ng international transaction also create a bias in favor of international over domestic transactions. Kasi tingnan nyo nung mga bago-bago pa ako sa BIR, hindi masyadong pinapansin yung mga foreign transactions. No? Ang tinututukan ng BIR to collect are only domestic transactions. Pero ngayon, iba na because of globalization. Tututukan mo talaga ngayon. Foreign transactions. Why? Because you will be drained of your internal or domestic transactions dahil global na. Pag hindi mo tinutukan ngayon yung foreign transactions, wala ka na makolekta. Lalo-lalo na yung sa online selling. No? So there is general agreement among taxpayers and governments on the undesirability of double taxation. So magkasundo sila dyan na ayaw talaga pareho ng double taxation. So double taxation is obviously desired by taxpayers. So sino naman may gusto ng double ng taxation? Siyempre yung taxpayer because yung burden ng payment of taxes mawala, no? And some extent tolerated or even encouraged by governments. There are governments also na ini-encourage din nila yung kanilang taxpayer, no? Para mababa lang yung babayaran na taxes. When in fact, may mga exemptions na binibigay, no? Just like mga tax haven countries, very low yung kanilang taxation. And it makes them competitive with other countries na yung mga multinational corporations sa kanila na magpapa-register. No? So developing countries often express the view that any increase in global welfare arising from removal of international barrier accrues mainly to industrial countries. So yun lang. Yun lang. Kanino ba mapunta? Siyempre, doon sa mga players din ng international transactions. Pagka na-solve mo yung isang problema, sino yung makikinabang? Siyempre, yung mga players. Kagaya natin, hindi naman tayo karamihan sa atin, domestic lang. So, hindi tayo benefited. No? So, international agreements contain special regime to deal with these concerns of developing countries. No? Kaya itong General Agreement on Tariff and Trades allows industrial countries to confer tariff privileges. Pero ito kasi yung GATT, ano na to parang regulated na rin yung mga bansa parang uniform na yung application nila, no? So without being obliged to extend them to all GATT members. No? Kaya nga sa World Trade, diyan na uso yung most favored nation clause, no? Para walang discrimination, lahat-lahat pareho. So in the income tax field, developing country review finds expression desire to offer tax incentive to international investors. Di ba sa isang bansa i-invite siya ng mga investors, no? So dito kayo mag-invest sa amin, no? So to attract capital, to ensure that the tax system of industrial countries do not negate the effect of the incentive. Kaya tingnan nyo sa Pilipinas, ang dami nating mga tax incentives na ino-offer. Ano yon? Kagaya ng BOI, no? Yung Board of Investment. Meron tayong mga tax holidays dyan. Yung mga PESA registered enterprises natin, paying a very, very low tax, a preferential rate of 5% in lieu of all taxes based on gross profit. No? So napakababa niyan. Halos wala na nga silang binabayad kasi in lieu of all taxes, including local taxes pa. No? Yeah. So the desired result of developing countries achieved by tax-sparing provisions in bilateral tax treaties. Aaral na natin yung tax treaties kahapon, no? Sanction double non-taxation and create bias in favor of international investment in developing countries. Kasi bakit daw nagkakaroon ng bias in favor of developing countries? Kasi sino ba ang makikinabang? Siyempre yun lang din yung countries na maraming transactions. Nagkaroon nga ng tax-sparing provisions. Wala ka namang transactions. So how will you benefit? No? Okay, hindi ka naman player. So, double non-taxation dealt with in general premise that the basic goal of international income tax system is to avoid double taxation and double non-taxation. So, hindi lang yung international income tax system ang purpose to avoid double taxation, also to avoid double non-taxation. Tingnan natin mamaya, no? Kasi may mga examples dito on how this double non-taxations are being employed by these entities or businessmen, no? Consensus on international tax rules, no? Bakit kailangan may international tax rules? Dimension of income taxation has grown. International consensus emerged about the structure of international income tax regime. No? So, nagiging international na yung income. Kasi, di ba sabi natin sa lahat ng tax, yung income talaga ang affected ng international regime. So, income tax is typically levied by country on domestic and foreign income of residents and domestic income of non-residents. So, yun yung learn natin kanina. Okay. Yun ang sinasabi na source principles of taxation. Kung we go deeper with the tax treaty, malalaman mo doon yung taxing power or taxing rights ng isang bansa, no? And then, yun yung tinatawag natin na residence and source principle of taxation. Bakit? Yung sino ba ang may taxing rights? Ito bang bansa na resident ang isang taxpayer? O itong bansa na doon siya kumukuha ng income niya? Kaya yun ang nagko-conflict yan, yung resident at saka yung source. No? Silang dalawa ang nagki-claim ng taxation. No? Kasi resident ka dito sa Pilipinas. Pero yung source mo, kagaya halimbawa yung boxing natin, Manny Pacquiao, ano siya, resident siya ng Pilipinas kasi Filipino citizen siya. Pero saan siya kumukuha ng income niya doon sa boxing niya? Sa US. No? So resident siya ng Pilipinas, yung source of taxation niya is US. So sino dapat ang kukolekta ng tax sa kanya? Sino dapat? Di ba 2 beses siya kinukolektahan? Kinolekta siya ng US. Pagdating sa Pilipinas, kinukolekta pa rin. But, sabi doon sa tax treaties natin kahapon, meron doon tinatawag na exemption or deduction. No? Ano yung exemption? Kung na-tax na sa ibang bansa, hindi mo na i-tax dito sa bansa mo. Ano naman yung deduction? Kung nagbayad na siya ng tax doon sa ibang bansa, pagdating dito sa Pilipinas, that portion of income earned in other country at saka yung tax na binayad niya doon sa ibang country, to the extent ng income earned niya in that other country, pwede niyang i-deduct pagdating sa Pilipinas. Yun yung deduction method. No? Okay. So, tax legislation of country should, in succinct terms, state in some suitably conspicuous place, general provision, living income. No? So, resident country earns income from source in other country. So, double taxation. At yung double taxation, ang sinasabi natin na kinukure ng international tax laws. No? Ang international tax laws deals with tax treaties. Also, yun yung topic natin kahapon. Okay. Economic taxation. No? So, when we say economic taxation, transfer pricing deals with economic taxation. No? Bakit ganun ang transfer pricing? Deals with economic taxation because it deals with the study of the economic activities of the entities in order to discover their true transactions. Why? Kaya nga na lumitaw na yung beneficial owner, legal owner. Why? Kasi sa totoong buhay, legal owner siya, pinaregister lang pala sa kanya the true owner or the beneficial owner, the one who enjoys the property is iba, no? So yun ang sinasabi natin na dealing with the economic activities and the true uh, activity is manifested through the acts and dealings, no? So transactions are analyzed based on facts and circumstances. Ano ba talaga nangyari? Kaya nga yung transfer pricing natin, although sabihin natin na transfer pricing is not an exact science, but transfer pricing deals with the facts and circumstances of the case. And the study of transfer pricing is factual. Kaya nga wala ang precedent dapat sa transfer pricing eh. You cannot kaya nga sa mga decision ng case ng transfer pricing, ina-abandon nila yung stare decisis. Why? Kasi hindi pwede na yung decision ng court doon sa mga nakaraang kaso, sundin mo na lang, no? Hindi. Why? Kasi titingnan mo talaga factual, the facts and circumstances of the case. And its case is different, no? Kasi magkakaiba yung mga scheme na ginagawa nila dyan. So, anong mangyayari? You have to apply your decision based on facts and circumstances. In short, factual ang transfer pricing cases. No? So, contracts are aligned to the actual manifestations of the parties. Kahit na may kontrata na, ito yung sinasabi ng kontrata, pero iba naman yung ginagawa, iba naman yung minamanifest ng parties. Why? Because they are related parties. So, it doesn't matter kung sundin nila yung contracts or not, because the same persons will be benefited, no? Kaya baliwala sa kanila. But for tax purposes, kaya mayroong transfer pricing. Why? Because for tax purposes, we have to deal with its entity as a separate entity for tax purposes. No? Kasi may kanya-kanya yung tax liabilities. So you have to deal with every entity as a separate tax entity. No? Kasi kung hindi, paano mo i-tax yung isa? Yung isa, nandun sa kanya lahat ng income. Nandun siya sa tax haven countries. O anong iniwan dito sa iyo? Puro expenses. No? So, anong mangyayari sa iyo? Wala kang makolekta. No? Ang laki-laki ng operations dito. The significant physical presence in your country. Pero kahit 5, wala kang makolekta. Why? Because yung tax niya nandoon sa ibang bansa. Yung iniwan niya dito, puro expenses. No? So, economic taxation deals with the following concept. Example lang to ha, gawa ko to. No? For the economic taxation. Itong example, substance over form. No? Why? Because economic taxation deals more on substance rather than form. And in fact, yung very particular ngayon, even the OECD, even yung mga bagong write-ups about transfer pricing, no? Even yung inaaral ko sa IBFD, International Bureau of Fiscal Documentation, they are very particular on the substance of the transactions. Why? Kasi pagka ang transactions walang substance or iba yung form, iba yung substance, then ano na siya kaagad, no? Negative na siya kaagad. No? It will trigger a deeper investigation. No? So, substance must prevail over form. O, kahit na sinabi nila na sale ito, kunwari, binenta ng piso, pero sa totoo lang, binigay lang pala donation kasi wala namang peso na sasakyan, no? Na-experience ko yan. Yung mga top of the line na sasakyan, binenta ng pesos ng multinational company, no? Na audit ko. Binenta sa kanyang mga officers ng piso lang. No? Sige, sabi ko, kung totoo yan, ito yung piso, akin na yung pajero nyo. No? Ayaw naman nila ibigay because the substance is different from form. Wala namang pajero na piso lang. No? Yung salvage value noon, malaki pa rin, million pa rin. So, another concept is the recharacterization of transactions. Sa transfer pricing kasi, sinabi mo, ito yung transactions mo, but if the true manifestation is different, then i-reclassify nila or re-characterize yung transactions mo. Sinabi mo sale, pero bigay lang pala, then i-characterize nila ng bigay. O sabi mo bigay, pero sale pala, then for tax purposes, i-characterize talaga yan, no? I-reclassify, no? And also the concept of profit shifting. Ano yung profit shifting? yung artificial price management. Why? Dito puro loss kasi puro expenses. Nasaan yung income? Kasi nandun binabayad, remit rin yung mga royalties. Nasaan yung income? Nasa tax haven countries. Why? Because the tax haven countries offers a very low tax rate or none at all. O wala pang tax. Kaya doon sila nagsishift ng kanilang profits. And also business strategies. There are so many business strategies that affects also the payment of taxes. No? Kasi ang dami nilang mga strategies na sometimes ang effect noon, non-payment of taxes. And also, artificial price management. Okay, so that's economic taxation. Please try to read more about transfer pricing as an economic taxation at how this transfer pricing are being used by companies. No? Saan nyo yan makikita? On the cases. No? On the cases decided by court. That's why meron na kaming dinownload na mga cases kasi sabi namin, ang dami nang maghihintay sa atin sa ayoko yung maputol yung kung baga thirst for knowledge, no? Kaya kailan may continuity. That's why meron na kami 9 cases na i-analyze namin then discuss namin during the live streaming so that you have something to ponder on or to think about or to hear about yung mga cases and transfer pricing. Dahil nandoon yung application ng laws at saka doon yung makikita how this transfer pricing scheme are being used. No? Kaya nga sabi ko, believe ako sa transfer pricing because gawa talaga siya ng mga taong matatalino at nag-iisip. No? Kasi kung ako lang, sa sarili ko lang, no, hindi ko maisip yung mga pinagagawa nila. That's why they are really capable of hiring experts. No? Okay. So, economic taxation not only pays for public goods and services, no? It is also a key ingredient in the social contract between citizens and the economy, no? So, taxation is beyond, yung sabi natin, pera-pera lang yung taxation, it is beyond, no? Kasi, pati yung economy, may effect ang taxation dyan, no? Holding governments accountable encourages the effective administration of tax revenues and more widely good public financial management. How is the tax managed in the Philippines, no? For your information, pag tiningnan ninyo yung budget and yung Department of Budget and Management na website, nakalagay dyan saan napupunta yung taxes collected. Kaya yung sabi nila, kinukurakot lang yan. Tingnan ninyo yung nagbabayad kayo ng tax nyo sa bangko, no? So, after payment sa bangko, yung taxes na binabayad sa bangko, i-remit nila yan sa National Treasury, no? Nape-penalize yung bangko dyan, may number of days lang yan sila na pag-receive nila nung pera ng tax, dapat i-remit na nila yan sa National Treasury, no? Pag nandyan na sa National Treasury yung pera, sino yung di-disburse niyan? The Office of the President, no? The Office of the President through the Department of Budget and Management. And if you try to look at the Department of Budget and Management, ano ba yung pinagkakagastusan ng pera ng Pilipinas? Nandoon na yung mga major takers natin. Ano are the major takers of our budget? No? The Department of Health. Lalo na ngayon, COVID. Ang laki ng budget talaga na punta sa kanila, no? So, Department of Health, Department of Education, Department of National Defense, Department of Public Highways, marami pa, no? So, yung mga major takers lang yan. Aside from that, ang dami pa, no? So, yung budget natin, ginagamit talaga yan ng gobyerno. And, ano pa yung isa ka major takers natin? Yung pang debt servicing. Kasi may utang tayo no? So, nagbabayad tayo ng utang. And that pambayad sa utang coming from the taxes that we collect. No? So, yun po yung financial management ng bansa natin. Compliance to international tax laws and regulations. No? So, kasi pagka halimbawa, you are an entity with presence in different parts of the world, alamin mo yung kanilang mga tax laws and regulations so that pwede kang ah, mag-comply, no? Usually, ano yung pinaka-reklamo ng mga foreign entities registering in the Philippines? Ang tagal daw dito sa Pilipinas, no? So, buti na nga lang ngayon, medyo mabilis-bilis na. Kuha ka ng, register ka sa SEC, it will take you some time. Noon ngayon kasi mabilis na. Punta ka ng local government, no? Kuha ka ng mga permits. Pagdating mo ng ah, barangay, city hall, and then sa BIR, ang tagal, no? So, pero ngayon, sabi nga natin, since online na, halos lahat ng mga agencies ngayon may online facilities na. So, medyo mabilis na. And, of course, digitized world na tayo ngayon, online na. No? So, nag-iba na ang mundo natin. Okay. Observance, adoption, and adoption of internationally accepted principles of transfer pricing, which is the arm's length principle, is mandatory and will open disputes with tax authorities if not complied with. No? Kasi tingnan mo nyo kasi ako binabasa ko yung mga celebrated cases ng transfer pricing in different countries. At nabasa ko sa mga jurisprudence, no, halimbawa Australia, may mga citations din siya on cases ng Canada, no, or ng UK. No? So, ibig sabihin, international talaga ang transfer pricing. Why? Kasi, yung jurisprudence ng isang bansa, pwede siyang gamitin ng ibang bansa. Kaya nga, internationally accepted yung arm's length principle. No? Okay, so transfer pricing and tax planning. Alam nyo dito sa transfer pricing and tax planning, dito ang dami-daming scheme na ma-discover ninyo. No? If you have time to read, ang dami nyo mababasa. Meron ngang case, tayo hari, ano yung 250? Kameko ba yon? 250 pages. Just like the GlaxoSmithKline naman, 1,000 pages. No? But if you have time, yung deliberations nila, presentation of evidence, and then meron pa akong nabasa na pinabayaan lang niya na assess yung tax authorities. Pero pagdating na dinadala niya palagi nag-a-appeal siya hanggang sa dinala niya sa Supreme Court. Pagdating na sa Supreme Court, pina-review lahat niya yung evidence and the application of laws. Panalo. Sabi ko, wise talaga to. At saka matalino na kliyente or taxpayer, no? Kasi hindi siya masyadong nag-a-argue Pero pagdating na ng Supreme Court na, talagang ang ano niya, question of evidence and application of laws, no? Presentation of evidence and question of laws. Inisa-isa niya, no? Nakaka-ready pala siya. Okay. So, transfer pricing, sabi ko na sa inyo, our study is anchored on transfer pricing. Even if we relate transfer pricing to other topics, para mas naintindihan ninyo and the broad application of transfer pricing, our topic is transfer pricing, no? In relation with the other terms lang. Also, transfer pricing is the general term used to refer to the problem of allocating profits among the parts of a corporate group. And usually, sino tong part of corporate group? They are related parties owned by the same interest, owned and controlled by the same persons. No? All that matters at the end of the day is the after-tax profit of the group rather than of its individual members. Kasi group nga sila So kahit na 2,000 subsidiaries or members of the group pa yan sila, yung talagang traditional na multinational group, meron na lang yan silang, they are operating bigger than a country. Meron na silang sariling treasury. No? May national treasury na sila. Kaya kung 2,000 members yan sila, ang pera niyan nandoon na sa treasury. So it doesn't matter kung yung isang company nila hindi kumikita, wala yan problema. Why? Because na-siphon niya ng national treasury nila yung pera. No? Okay. So, ano yung nila? Concern nila, hindi yung individual members, hindi yung 2,000 members, no? Yung after-tax profit nila. Kung sino yun, saan nila nilagay. Yung company na nandoon lahat ng pera, doon lang sila nakatutok. Why? Because yung iba are support, support companies lang yan, doing service to other companies, no? So, prices charged with the group for goods or services provided, financing methods used. Kaya nga sabi ko na sa inyo, since group sila, no, yung multinational, mayroon silang treasury group, kumpleto na sila, nandun na lahat. May financing company sila, may delivery, may manufacturing, may distribution. Lahat na, hindi na sila nagta-transact with outside, no? Kaya, pag ginawan mo sila ng transfer pricing, yung hindi pa uso yung very specific na documentation requirements ng OECD, sino gumagawa sa kanila? Yung mga big accounting firm, gumagawa na sa kanila ng master platform documentation, yung makakapal. Why? Para na silang nagtithesis, no? Ginagawa nila ng executive summary, may mga presentation na sila, and then may index to the documentation. Lahat inaaral na nila para pagdating na ng audit, sasabihin nila, ito yung ginagawa mo. O may papakita na sila, may documentation to make them easy, no? To make their work easy. Okay. So prices charged when the group for goods and services, no, provided financing methods. Kaso lang sa transfer pricing kasi, yun lang yung gusto ko sa transfer pricing kasi kahit na ilan kayo kadami, bawat member of the group, meron talaga yung transfer pricing issue. No? Halimbawa, financing ka, financing company ka, anong issue mo? The interest that you charge. No? Tama ba o kaya arm's length ba yung interest that you charge with your co-member? Oh. Halimbawa naman, manufacturing ka. So, tama ba yung pricing of product mo when you transfer it to your distributor, no? Which is your related party? Pag delivery service ka naman, tama ba yung charging mo of fees, no? Sa related parties mo. So, lahat yan, kahit na 2,000 members yan, lahat yan may transfer pricing issue yan. And what is the issue? Is that charges arm's length, no? Kaya nga, ang transfer pricing, napakahirap, napaka-complicated. Sabi ko dun sa mga nagtatanong, hindi yan mahirap, hindi complicated. Why? Naka-anchor lang yan sa isang question. And what is the question? Is it arm's length? And when we say arm's length, is it comparable with the independent parties? No? Okay. So, no obstacle to charging any price or structuring a transaction in any way within the group. No? Fair or proper distribution of overall group profits among the companies in the group is often a secondary consideration to tax consequences. Within the group yan. But of course, sa government ngayon, pinuperson na sila, kaya nga may country-by-country reports na ngayon, no? So makikita mo yung initiatives of the OECD and even the Euro, no, the European communities or the EU, ang dami nilang mga requirements on transfer pricing documentation. No? Kaya, if you are an aspiring accountant, no, I understand may mga participants tayo who are student, no? If you are an aspiring accountant, an aspiring provider of services, no, or consultant later on, no? So this is a good avenue for you. So anong pwede niyo gawin? Basa na kayo ng basa, no? Maintindihan niyo rin and later on ma-appreciate niyo, no? So financial accounting seeks to determine profits for reporting. Kasi even sabihin na natin transfer pricing arm's length principle, pagdating na sa ibang aspeto ng recording, we also follow the accounting standards. At ngayon, di ba yung standards natin is IFRS na, no? International. At meron na tayong full PFRS, meron na tayong PFRS for SME and for small entities, no? Okay. Okay. So in taxation, allocate profits among the companies in the group. Kaya nga ang effective na method for highly integrated companies or group of companies is profit split. Why? Why? I-split mo na lang yung profit. Why? Kasi, halimbawa, 2,000 companies yan. Sino lang yung kumikita dun? Dalawang company lang. All others are only dealing in the provision of services for the whole group. So, anong gagawin mo? Kahit anong gagawin mo, hindi talaga kikita yun. Why? Unang-una, wala namang income yan na generate. So, if you try to apply the definition of income, wala ka talagang makikita. No? So, anong gagawin mo? Profit split. And what are the transfer pricing methods that we learned during the first day natin? Yung basic principles of transfer pricing. No? So the five methods ng transfer pricing are the comparable uncontrolled price method. You compare the price. The resale price method, no? You compare the gross profit. The cost plus method, you compare the gross profit. Transactional net margin method, you compare the net margin or net profit. And the profit split method. For the profit split method, gagawin mo na lang dyan is you allocate the profit based on allocation K. And sometimes, ano yung, sa ibang discussion naman natin, ano yung one of the allocation K that you can use is the number of employee. No? Kung asset intensive naman yan, then you can use also the asset as your allocation K. No? Okay. 11, 15, 45 minutes na lang. My goodness. Ang bilis. No, ang sarap at sana mag-explain. But we don't have time, no? Anyway, I make such PowerPoint na kahit basahin nyo, maintindihan nyo. Ayoko yung PowerPoint na pag kayo na lang hindi nyo na maintindihan. No? Ayokong gumawa ng ganyang klaseng PowerPoint. Why? Because ako mismo, I'm attending seminars. And when I attended seminar, attend ako today. Pagdating ng gabi, re-reviewin ko yan. No? And sad to say, the PowerPoint are designed na pag ikaw na lang magbasa, hindi mo na maintindihan, especially if you miss the explanation. Kaya ayoko ng ganyan. No? Gusto ko, yung PowerPoint, pag binasa ko ulit, kaya ko pa rin intindihin. Bakit? Kasi kompleto. No? So, pasensya na kayo, but I pattern my PowerPoint to my needs. No? Kasi, naiinis ako doon sa balikan ko, the whole day ka uupo, yung PowerPoint mo, such that iilang peraso lang, tapos pag gusto mo pang magbasa, wala ka nang babasahin. Tapos yung nandun lang, hindi mo din maintindihan kasi bullet points lang. No? Ang ginawa ko sa PowerPoint ko, also at the same time, reading materials. No? Kaya pasensya na kayo. I cater the design to my needs. No? Kasi mahilig ako mag-review eh. Pag ni-review ko yung mga bullet points, wala akong maintindihan. No? So, pasensya na kayo. But if you want to read my presentation or my slides, marami nga lang siya. Pero at the same time, maintindihan nyo. No? Okay. Sige. Poll question mo na, Hari. So our poll question, number 1, international taxation is important for companies having business presence in different parts of the world. A, as a matter of fact, opinion lang po to ha. As a matter of fact, these companies are hiring tax experts to handle their tax compliance nationwide. No? B, if unattended, tax can become a very sensitive matter that will drain the company's assets. No? Bakit? Bakit ma-drain siya ng assets? Letter C, artificial price management are sometimes employed by some companies to save payment of taxes. And letter D, taxation is a simple matter that never demand attention from business owners. Simple yan lang yung tax, huwag mo nang pansinin. No? So that is your poll question number 1. No? Okay, so let's proceed with the next topic kasi mag-alas 12 na, ang bilis ng oras. Parang, ito yung oras lang talaga na pang webinar, 2 hours. No? So, tax avoidance. International tax avoidance in many cases will utilize a combination of techniques, no? Pag sinabi mo kasing tax avoidance, gawa yan ng matatalino. Why? Because you cannot avoid tax kung hindi mo pag-isipan, no? Ito, treaty shopping activities. We learned tax treaties kahapon, no? So treaty shopping activities will often go hand in hand with the use of tax havens and the interaction of tax treaties. Part na rin to ng tax planning, ha? Kasi paano pa ka makapag-avoid ng tax? Anong gagawin mo? No? So you employ tax haven and then the interaction of tax treaties and domestic laws. So pag-aralan mo ngayon yung tax treaties and the domestic law, kung maka-escape ka, halimbawa, yung royalties in this country, walang withholding, so dito ka. No? Or you register in a tax haven countries with a very low tax rates, doon ka. No? Kasi kahit malaki yung net income mo, maliit pa rin yung babayaran mong tax. So, by way of extension of the case of treaty shopping in the royalties area, some countries do not their domestic law charge withholding tax on payment of royalties by resident to non-residents for different reasons. Pero, noon pa to sa ngayon, iba na, no? Kasi very particular na ngayon ang mga tax authorities on the substance, no? Okay. Pag sinabi mo kasi tax haven countries, usually walang substance yan kasi pina-register lang doon. No? So, the country has a treaty with developing or transition country containing zero royalty rate. No? Kaya anong ginagawa pag zero royalty rate? Doon pinaparegister yung IP company or the intellectual property, yung mga intangibles, doon binabayad yung royalty. So, since zero royalty rate sila, walang babayaran. No? Okay. Sayang yung oras natin, hindi ano eh. Okay. Yun sabi ng iba sa akin pag nag-lecture, ma'am, ang dami mong kwento. Sige, hindi na ako magkukwento. Kasi wala na ring oras, no? Diretso tayo sa payment to tax haven, no? These are part of the tax planning and tax avoidance scheme, no? So payment to tax haven. So industrial country resident makes a direct investment in subsidiary in developing or transition country. Sino itong mga subsidiary? Ito yung pinaregister mo sa tax haven countries. Sino yung tax haven countries? These are the countries which has a very low effective tax rate or no tax at all. No? So the residence country of the parent will be operating either an exemption system or a foreign tax credit system to relieve double taxation. No? So, or the income is shifted out of the source country to the residence country because the income will be exempt. Pinag-aralan na lahat yan. No? Pinag-aralan na lahat yan. Nasaan na yung income? No? Actually, nakita ko yan during my audit. Nagtataka ako. So, why is it na yung pera nila, the sales is only 800 million. Pero nung tiningnan ko yung pumasok nilang pera dito sa Pilipinas in their bank accounts, 8 billion. Yun pala, sinishift yung kanilang mga income from other countries nandito sa Pilipinas. No? Okay. So maraming mga iba't ibang nangyayari and that is because of the desire of the companies to avoid payment of taxes. No? So anong tawag doon? Profit shifting. No? So if the profit shifting involves transfer pricing, the parent charges inflated prices. Yan na. Inflated prices. Linalakihan yung cost of sales. Pag nilakihan mo yung cost of sales, anong mangyayari? Liliit yung net income mo. Kaya anong sinasabi sa Section 50 natin, which is the transfer pricing law in the Philippines, Section 50 of our National Internal Revenue Code, the allocation of income and deductions. So the commissioner is empowered to allocate, distribute a portion, income and deductions para lang iwasan yung evasion of taxes. Okay. So increase in parents' profits will be taxable in the residence country. No? The result follows, the profits will not usually be regarded as income source in the source country that attracts exemption. Bakit? Kasi doon sa country, kung nasaan sila nag-operate, doon kinukuha yung income nila, anong iniwan nila doon? Hindi tax, kung hindi puro expenses. Net loss. So why is it that the GlaxoSmithKline was uh, subjected to transfer pricing audit. Isang product lang niya, no, yung Santang sa Canada. Because nagtataka yung Canadian government, why is it na ang tagal ng panahon na napaka-sellable ng Santang and yet they are declaring loss. No? So yun yung nangyayari. Okay. Yun yung source country nila ng income. Pero wala silang income na dinideclare doon. Why? Kasi tinaasan nila yung cost of the raw materials na ginagamit doon sa Santa. So saan yung income? Somewhere doon sa ibang company nila na nagsusupply ng Santa sa Canada. No? So yun yung tinatawag natin na artificial price management. No? So tax planning by multinational company group is directed to reduce source country and residence country taxation. Kasi pinag-aralan na nila yan eh. Ito si source country. No? Dito ka nagbi-business. Diyan mo kinukuha yung income mo. Pero hindi yan ang residence country mo kasi dito ka registered sa US, dito ka registered sa tax haven countries o dito ka registered sa UK. So, saan mapupunta yung tax mo? Pag dito ka sa residence country, mataas yung tax. No? Pag dito ka rin sa resident country mo, okay, swerte mo kung mababa yung tax mo. Pero pag mataas yan, anong ginagawa ng iba? Nagpaparegister sila ng ibang company na naman doon sa bansa na mababa yung tax or tax haven countries. At yun ang ginagawa nila na parent company or yun yung holding company nila. So doon lahat pumupunta yung income or IP company nila. Doon pumupunta lahat ng royalties. Maliit lang na babayaran ng tax, no? So tax havens will be used for this purpose. No? Para nga sa akin, yung mga tax haven countries, talagang ginawa nila yan, no? Para ma-protectionan yung kanilang income. No? So transfer pricing case, one possibility would be for the parent company to sell the goods to a related company in a tax haven for cost plus an artificially small profit and then shifting part of the profit out of the residence country. Ang dami, no? Malalaman nyo yan sa mga tax cases. Ang daming mga scheme na gagamitin nila. Tingnan ninyo yung video natin on Coke, no? Yung Coke is a byword, no? Next to okay daw, yung Coke ang pinakasikat na word sa buong mundo, no? What happened to Coke, to the case of Coke? Part 1 hanggang part 4 yung video natin on the case of Coke. Anong nangyari sa Coke? Meron silang tinatawag doon na invoice splitting, no? Ano yung invoice splitting? Buwan sila ng maraming companies. Tapos, ito na yung distributor, nag-i-issue siya ng resibo. Part lang, nag-i-issue din ng resibo yung isang company. No? Na wala naman siya kung pakialam doon sa marketing. No? So, yun yung case ng Coke, may invoice splitting. Ni-split yung invoice. So, pag in-split mo yung invoice, ni-split mo yung income. So, saan napunta yung income? Doon sa Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico ba yun? Basta Latin country. No? Na umabot ng 285,000 yung kanyang 285% yung kanyang net income as compared sa US na maliit lang. So anong ginawa ng IRS? Sinubject sa transfer pricing, no? Nagkaroon ng adjustment. So nagbayad sila ng deficiency. Okay. Sige. Hindi natin yan kayang explain lahat eh. Although, sarap kasi bigyan ng mga examples, no? Kasi mas may intindihan nyo pa. But, basahin nyo na lang. Anyway, even if you read, may PowerPoint, may intindihan nyo siya. So, double dipping. Ano naman to? Kanina, tax haven, no? That's part of the tax planning. So, gagawa ka ng company doon sa tax haven countries, doon mo lahat babayaran yung income mo, doon mo ipapadala, maliit lang babayaran mo. No? That's part of the tax planning. Next is double dipping. Ano ba yung dip? Salok, no? 2 beses mo sinalok. Double dipping, 2 beses ka benefited, no? So, alternative techniques for reducing source and residence taxation that have been used in recent times. Ito kasi, kumbaga sa ano, itong double dipping, booking na to, no? So, na gamit na to ng mga companies, no? Seeks to double up on favorable tax rules in both source and residence countries, no? So, yun yung tinatawag na double dipping. Exploit, example is exploit differences in the tax law treatment of the same transaction in the source and residence countries. Kasi, di ba, they make use of the different domestic tax laws. So, iba yung tax law treatment ng isang bansa, iba din yung sa source country or sa residence country. No? Example, financial lease of equipment. Some countries recharacterize finance lease for tax purposes as purchases and loans. No, some countries. I don't think so ngayon kasi international financial reporting standards na tayo. No? So other countries treat them the same way as operating leases. Sa iba naman, leasing is treated as paying rent and the lessor as being the owner of the equipment. No? The result is that the two countries can end up treating two separate taxpayers, one country the lessor and the other country the lessee, as the owner of equipment and entitled to depreciation and interest deductions. Hindi mo dalawa, may depreciations na may interest deductions pa. Why? Kasi itinreat mo na loan eh, no? Okay. So, economic terms, equivalent to depreciation and interest. No? Difference in treatment should not produce a substantial tax variance, but many countries have tax incentives for investment in capital equipment in the form of accelerated depreciation, investment credits, or allowances. Ito pa pala, no? Mayroon tayong expanded deductions under the CREATE law. Although the IRR or the implementing regulations is not yet finished, meron silang draft, pero up to now hindi pa na-finalize, no? But try to look at the expanded na mga deductions, no? Kasi benefited ang ang taxpayers, especially during the COVID, no? So two different taxpayers are treated as the owner of the equipment in different countries, and each is entitled to these incentives in one of the countries. No? Pero mo, isang transactions lang, pero dalawa, double ang yung treatment, kaya double incentive. No? So, one of the affected countries could enact a rule that investment incentives will not be available under its law. Okay. Kung very proactive yung bansa na yan, pero kung natutulog lang at hindi naman gumagawa ng mga proactive na batas, wala, hindi mo ma-cure yung ganyang klaseng mga scheme, no? Okay. Ano yung solution? Each country do away with or reduce the investment incentives. Pero ngayon, dahil nga sa pandemic, ang daming mga incentives, no? Meron pa tayong pera or Personal Equity Retirement Act, no? May mga pera pa tayo na binibigyan din yan ng tax incentives, no? Unusual kasi yung panahon ngayon eh. That's why even yung create law natin will last ng 2022 at balik tayo sa normal na tax rate sa 2023. No? Okay. Another form of double dipping that has been much exploited involves dual residence companies. Ano yung dual residence companies? Some countries permit grouping of the income and losses of commonly owned resident companies. No? Permit the transfer of tax losses to related companies. Yung mga loss. Sa atin, di ba, meron tayong NOLCO or Net Operating Loss Carryover. Pero same company lang. If the same company is resident in two such countries and has borrowed to finance group operations, it may be able to deduct the interest in its country. Kaya nga, dalawa eh. Alam nyo, na-discover ko yan during my audit. Yung management expenses, no? Yung dito sa Pilipinas, subsidiary siya, no? Parang BPO yata. And then it is managed by a parent company somewhere in US. Yung parent company sa US is charging so much, something like 120 million management fee or management charges dun sa company in the Philippines, no? So, sabi ko, kaya nga ngayon sa transfer pricing very much particular tayo sa management fee, no? Kasi kung sino yung nagbibigay ng management services at sino yung tumatanggap at kailangan ba niya. Especially if the company here in the Philippines is doing a very simple work, bakit kailangan pa niya ng magbayad ng management fee na pagkalaki-laki? No? Halimbawa, product, ano lang naman siya dito sa Pilipinas, product knowledge. Bibigay lang siya ng uh, information sa mga customer. So, bakit kailangan ng management fee na pagkalaki-laki? Wala namang technicalities yan. No? Para nga lang nire-rewind mo lang yung sasabihin mo sa customer eh. No? So, very, ano yan. Pagdating naman doon sa US, nagkiklaim pa rin sila ng um, expenses about management also. No? So, dalawas na yung kanilang double dip sila. Yung management na charge nila dito sa Pilipinas at nagcha-charge din sila ng another management expense din doon sa US. No? So, dalawang beses. Okay. Sige, ano mo muna yung second poll question, Harry, before we go to treaty shopping. Kasi, ano na 20 minutes, 25 minutes na lang. May ano pa tayo, may OECD. Please answer poll question number 2. Aggressive tax planning by large companies alarm tax authorities, resulting to great loss of revenue in their countries. A. Opinion only. Many countries adopted the arm's length principle as the most important tool to curb tax evasion and aggressive tax planning. B. Domestic legislations are amended to give way to the adoption of new tax laws that will discourage tax evasion. C. Tax authorities have nothing to do with the tax avoidance scheme adopted by many large businesses. Walang pakialam yung tax authorities doon. Letter D. Revenue loss from harmful tax practices of many companies is not one of the priorities of tax administration. So, wala silang pakialam doon sa revenue loss. No? Okay, please answer A, B, C, or D. Ilan na yung nag-answer, Hari?
10 pa lang. Pero yung sa una kanina, 66.
66?
Ngayon, 10.
Yung mga previous na certificate of attendance, nabigay na?
Kahapon na lang hindi. Saka yun, para ngayon.
Nagsaing ka na? Ha? May? With our discussion on treaty shopping, kasi kahapon, transfer pricing and tax treaties. Ngayon, since we are talking about tax planning, then tingnan natin yung treaty shopping on or how they use tax treaties to avoid payment of taxes. No? So tax treaties themselves may become the object of tax avoidance activities. Even though they often express the purpose of preventing tax avoidance. Yun yung purpose ng tax treaties. Pero bakit nagamit pa rin sila na tax avoidance scheme? So, possibility was never intended by original framers of model tax treaties and is not in itself sufficient. Pero doon sa permanent establishment, no, ako pa lang unang basa ko noon, hindi na ako sold doon, no. It's self-sufficient reason for a country to reject negotiations of tax treaties as their benefits usually outweigh the detriments. No? Beneficial pa rin naman siya as compared doon sa hindi. No? So possibility of abuse arises from two features of the tax treaty. Its incomplete coverage of the word and its bilateral structure. Bilateral siya kasi dalawa siya dalawang side, no? Palagi. Pag gumawa ka ng tax treaty, two parties palagi yan, kaya bilateral. And incomplete coverage of the word. Incomplete. Incomplete. Why incomplete? Kasi yung nakikita mo, yun lang side ng dalawang bansa, no? Na mostly kulang-kulang pa, no? Kasi hindi mo naman talaga ma-cover lahat. So former features flows from the latter because it is not possible to negotiate with virtually all of the countries of the world at once. Impossible, no? So, latter is regarded as flowing from the wide variation in tax systems around the world so that it is felt necessary for its country to handcraft a tax treaty accommodation with other countries one by one. Although, malaking tulong na yung ginawa ng OECD because may mga model template na sila where to craft the tax treaty. No? Pero meron pa rin loophole. No? Okay. Okay, so paano ginawa yung treaty shopping? Example, treaty between investor countries and country X may have a 10% rate limit on royalty payments. So, ano yung mga mobile income natin? Royalty, dividend, interest, no? Nandoon yun sa mga article natin doon sa tax treaty, no? So, if that investor can find another country that has a tax treaty with country X that contains a zero tax rate on royalties, tingnan mo ha, ito si investor, mag-i-invest siya sa isang bansa. At magkano yung payment ng royalty? 10%. So anong gagawin niya? Maghahanap siya ng bansa na zero yung tax rate sa royalties. Then, it will be possible to route a licensing transaction through a subsidiary in that country and eliminate the source country royalty tax. Diba? Bakit ka magbabayad ng 10% na tax doon sa royalty payments? Eh, meron namang bansa na walang royalty payments. Zero yung tax rate on royalties. So, anong gagawin mo? Gawa ka ng subsidiary doon sa bansa na yon, and then doon mo idaan yung royalty mo. Walang babayaran ng tax. That is an example of treaty shopping, no? Kaya nga may tinatawag tayo ng mga treaty abuses. At ano yung pangontra naman dyan ng tax authority? Yung sinasabi nila na beneficial owner rule. Kasi, hindi naman siya yung subsidiary doon, hindi naman siya beneficial owner. Ano ginagawa niya? Yung royalty na nire-receive niya doon, nire-remit din niya doon sa totoong owner. Oh? So, yun yung tinatawag na, in substance, hindi siya talaga yung owner. No? Hindi siya ang beneficial owner. Then it will be possible to route a licensing transaction through a subsidiary in that country and eliminate the source country royalty tax. If the third country in turn has a treaty with the investor's country containing a zero tax on royalties, it will be possible in turn to pay the royalty owed to the investor without tax in that country. So ganun po, nagagamit yung tax treaty. No? Kaya ang tawag dyan, treaty shopping. Okay, so isang example lang tayo kasi ng time. Okay. I will discuss to you the FATCA kasi this is in connection with the international law, no? Na this is US 2010 pa nila to in-enact, and this is about Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, no? Is a 2010 United States federal law requiring all non-US foreign financial institutions or FFI to search the records for customers with indicia of a connection to the US. Ano yung connection to the US? US person yung hinahanap nila. Pagka ang US person may kontrata or may income with you, i-report mo siya sa FATCA. Try to look at the website ng BIR. Pag binuksan mo yan doon sa international na matters, nandoon po yung FATCA, may portal na tayo dyan. No? So mag-i-enroll dyan yung may mga transactions with the US person. No? So including indications and records of birth or prior residence in the US or the like, and to report the assets and identities of such person to the US Department of the Treasury or yung IRS. No? So, yan ang FATCA. Talagang ang US, hinahanap niya yung kanyang mga US persons for tax purposes, no? Para i-tax. Kasi ang dami rin nagtatago because of tax, no? So, FATCA also requires such persons to report their non-US financial assets annually to the Internal Revenue Service on Form 18938, no? Bakit yung financial assets you have to report? Kasi may income yan eh. Limbawa, yung financial assets mo, you have a cash of 1 billion. O how much yung kinikita ng 1 billion mo, hindi mo nire-report. Which is in addition to the older and further redundant requirement to report them annually to the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network or FinCEN on Form 114, also known as IFBAR. No? So like US income tax, low FATCA applies to US residents and also to US citizens and green card holders residing in other countries. Alam niyo yung isang dream ko sana, bakit ako umalis ng BAR at 55? Kasi sabi ko, I still have 10 years to work, no? 55 to 65. Gusto ko magtrabaho sa US, no? Sabi ko, nangarap pa sana ako na magkaroon ng green card, no? Or to become a green card holders. Ang sabi naman ng iba, para ma-shortcut mag-asawa ka ng Amerikano, no? So, sabay-sabay din ako, no? Naghanap na ng fiancé na retiree, no? Pakasalan daw, ganun-ganun. Alam niyo, nung nandun na, magkita na kami sa isang restaurant, hindi ko kaya, umuwi ako sa bahay. Huwag na. Sabi ko, kasi ayoko yung magpakasal ka lang for convenience. I don't like that, no? Sabi ko, tiis na lang ako. No? So, okay lang. No, nag-practice ako after my retirement at 55. Nag-practice ako. So, ngayon, okay na ako. Kasi may pension and at the same time, may mga konting trabaho. So, okay na. FATCA was reportedly enacted for the purpose of detecting non-US financial accounts. No? So, yun yung hinahanap ng FATCA. Of US resident taxpayers, rather than to identify non-resident US citizens and enforce collections. So, thousands of resident US citizens with non-US assets, such as investors, dual citizens, legal immigrants. FATCA applies to estimated 5.7 to 9 million US citizens. Maliit lang to, mas marami pa. US citizens residing outside of the United States and those persons believed to be US persons for tax purposes. No? So, ang dami talagang nagtatago sa tax. No, wala tayong magawa. Why? Kasi burdensome kasi ang tax eh. Kaya try to look at itong FATCA, pero mo ginamit to ng US para hanapin yung mga US persons kasi nagtatago sa tax. Okay. FATCA also affects non-US person family members and business partners who share accounts with US persons. No? Kasi kung may shared account kayo, pati kayo, FATCA. No? US person signatories of accounts. The feature allows reporting of the assets of non-US corporations, voluntary organizations, and any other non-US entity where a US person can be identified. No, meron akong client na pinadala na siya ng IRS, ng letter, para i-report niya yung kanyang transactions with a US person. Alam niyo, nung nakalagay doon sa letter, yung IRS has a record na meron kang transaction with this kind of company, and tapos nire-require siya to have a global identification number, no? Mag-register din siya. So, FATCA is also used to locate US citizen, no, residing in the US or not, and US persons for tax purposes, and to collect and store information including total asset value and social security number. No? Kasi yung social security number sa US, very important yan eh. Bakit? Kasi halos lahat ng tao may social security number. The law is used to detect assets rather than income. Okay. Dito naman kung paano kinokolekta yung information, no? For example, according to Ukraine's IGA intergovernment agencies, no, ang Ukraine, the US person data will be sent to US via the Ukrainian government, no? So gobyerno mismo yun ang tinatawagan or i-request ng US, no? Alternatively, in a non-IGA country, no, just like Russia, only the Russian bank will store the US person data and will send it directly to the IRS. No? So, Russian bank. Kasi saan ba na itatago yung pera ng US citizens? Sa bangko. No? So, under US tax law, US person, regardless of country of residence, are generally required to report and pay US federal income tax on income from all sources. Parang Pilipinas din sila na ang resident nila is tax on income from all sources. So pag ikaw ay Filipino citizen, yung income mo coming from outside or inside the Philippines is taxable, no? So the US and Eritrea, a country in Eastern Africa, yung Eritrea, are the only two countries worldwide which tax non-resident citizens. No? Non-resident citizens tinatax pa rin. Okay. So that's all about FATCA, no? And then we also have the exchange of information. Meron na tayong Republic Act in this exchange of information. But if you try to look at yung tax treaties na pinag-aralan natin kahapon, meron ding provisions in the tax treaties that contains exchange of information. And even in the collection of taxes, di ba? So, itong exchange of information are also initiative of the tax authorities. So how does this work? Meron ang BAR nitong manual on the exchange of information on how to do it, no? And halimbawa, meron tayong exchange of information that the BAR wanted an information sa ibang bansa. Yung request for information of the taxpayer na taga-ibang bansa, ika-cars through the DFA or Department of Foreign Affairs. So, ang ibig sabihin dito sa exchange of information, if outside the country, this is done through the country-by-country request, no? Through the DFA or the Department of Foreign Affairs. So, ganun nakatindi ngayon na Japan is very active on this exchange of information, especially on their citizen, no? Kasi may mga citizen sila na may mga businesses sa ibang bansa pero not reported in Japan. No? So anong ginagawa nila? Yung mga investment na yan hinahanap nila and then kumukuha sila ng data or information from other countries as to the investment of that Japanese company. No? Okay. So let's now go to the initiative, no? Kasi 10 minutes na lang, of the OECD projects, no? Mabilis lang to. Why? Kasi ito na yung future of taxation, no? Our slide is coming from the OECD slides, no? Ang source is the OECD Tax Talk number 17, Center for Tax Policy and Administration. So if you have time, punta kayo sa website ng OECD, no? Or kung gusto ninyo naman yung specific tax talk, itong nakikita ninyo sa slides, sa screen, na OECD Tax Talk number 17, Center for Tax Policy and Administration, yan na lang yung ilagay ninyo sa search ninyo. And then lalabas na siya, no? And then titingnan ninyo because those are the initiatives and the projects of the OECD, no? Yun yung current, no? So, yung blueprint nila o ano yung ginagawa nila ngayon, no? Na-identify nila yung key guiding principles sa taxation, no? Ano to? New taxing right no longer exclusively circumscribed by reference to physical presence. That's why we have a case, no? Yung Wayfair Inc. versus South Dakota. Ito yung about physical presence, no? Na yung sabi nila standard diseases, meron ng previous na decision yung court, hindi na pwedeng galawin. Eh, iba na yung ano ngayon, yung reality ngayon. Digitized world na. Hindi na kailangan yung physical presence to make business, no? Virtual presence is enough. Okay. So net basis taxation and no double taxation. Yun ang sabi, no? Improve tax certainty processes kasi this is the cry of almost many countries, yung tax certainty. Bakit tax certainty? Uncertain kasi yung taxation, no? So even if you file, even if you comply, meron pa rin makikita, meron pa rin deficiency later on if you are subjected to tax audit. Removal of unilateral measures, no? Achieve least complicity or simplification. Ito yung mga project ng OECD, ha? Recognizes open policy issues in key features of the solution and areas where further technical work is required, no? So ina-identify nila 'yan. And then pinili ko lang naman yung mga slides, no, na informative. So design and compliance simplification, no? Scope, threshold, consolidation test and excluded entities, no, base. anong proposal nila? Use of parent financial accounting standards with no book-to-book, unlimited book-to-tax adjustments. Alam nyo, ang constraint ng tax investigator is no books of accounts or records presented. Kaya nga sa transfer pricing, mandatory na, no, that they have to maintain the yung 3/3 documentation. Ano yun? Master file, country by country report, and the local file. Reliance on entity level financial information. Simplification in mechanism to address timing differences or volatility. Pag napadalhan yung taxpayer ng letter notice, no, na bakit hindi mo uh, ni-report yung income mo, no? Meron kang nabenta na 100 million, bakit hindi mo ni-report? Sasabihin, timing difference, no? Pero para sa akin, hindi ang timing differences. Why? Because the moment that transactions occur, tapos na yan eh. At saka may mga supporting documents yan eh. So paano mo sabihin na timing difference? Blending, no? Leveraging country by country reporting for jurisdictional blending. Blending, bakit blending? Kasi yung may needs ng country by country report, hindi lang isang bansa, no? So, magbi-blend kayo ng jurisdiction, no? Rule design, preference for bright line mechanical test. Tingnan nyo yung mga terms nila ngayon, iba na. Kasi iba na rin eh. Digitized world na tayo. Role order and coordination including top-down approach. Subject to tax rule, nominal rate test, limited to certain categories of largely intragroup payments that give rise to BIPS risk. Anong BIPS? Base erosion and profit shifting. No? Ako minsan, may mga senior moments na kung last natin na lecture, hindi ko talaga maalala yung BIPS. Pero ang BIPS, alam nyo, palagi lang yun nasa isip ko eh, kasi ang dami kong books na binili sa OECD, no, regarding this BIPS. And then all of a sudden, nakakalimutan ko, may mga lapses na talaga pag senior. So to be explored further are the simplification, no, ng country by country report and tax administration guidance. May maganda sila dito eh na gusto ko makita nyo, no? Taxing virtual currencies, no? Ano yung mga virtual currencies? Ito yung mga iba't ibang coins, no? Tax treatment under income, consumption, and property taxes. Prepared with 50 jurisdictions, policy implications of emerging issues. Stable coins, central bank, digital currencies, proof of stake, and decentralized finance, no? So imagine, never heard yan ng mga terms noon, but ito na yung future ng taxation, no? Virtual currencies. So ano yung itatax mo dito? So, virtual din. No? So ano yung taxation mo ngayon? Virtual na rin. No? Virtual tax din. Ay, tinatax mo virtual, edi virtual din yung tax mo. No? Taxing virtual currency. No? Findings and considerations for countries on taxing virtual currencies. Providing clear, regularly updated guidance which considers consistency with the treatment of other assets and remain abreast of emerging areas. Marami pang emerging areas, hindi pa sigurado, no? Marami pang lalabas na mga bago. Supporting improved compliance, no? Including through the consideration of simplified rules on valuation or for small occasional trades. Aligning the tax treatment of virtual currencies, no? Developing appropriate guidance. So, still waiting. No? BPS implementation, we have delivering on tax transparency and also tax and development. Ito lang yung gusto ko na i-highlight sa inyo ha. Itong sa tax and development. Why? Kasi yung sabi ko sa inyo, the future of taxation is ito yun eh. No? So, capacity building and tax academies. Ano yun? Sino tong binibuild nila yung capacity? Ito yung tax inspectors without borders, no? Sino tong tax inspectors without borders? Anong ibig sabihin mo pagka without borders? Without limit, wala nang boundary, no? Yung tax inspectors kahit saan pwede siyang mag-inspect, no? And there are 80 programs completed and ongoing in 45 jurisdictions. So, yun palang mga tax inspectors or yung sa atin dito, revenue officers, without borders, pwede na silang mag-inspect kahit saan, no? So there are platform of collaboration on tax. No? So may capacity building na, ano na sila. Alam ko ang Japan is very active on this, no? On tax officers or tax inspectors without borders. No? So dapat tayo meron din. Okay, transfer pricing guidance on COVID-19, no? Basahin nyo na lang yan. Kasi yung COVID-19 matatapos na rin yan. Pag na-vaccine na tayo lahat, no? So, kailan tayo hari?
Sa Friday po.
Friday, anong oras?
1 p.m.
1 p.m. So, kayo magpa-vaccine na rin kayo. Hindi ko lang alam kung yung mga 15 years old pwede na rin magpa-vaccine.
Hindi pa yata.
No?
Wala pa sa category.
Okay. So, transfer pricing guidance on COVID-19. No? Pag gumagawa kayo ng transfer pricing analysis, halimbawa 2020, you have to disclose also the COVID-19 kung ano nangyari. No? Key outcomes from public consultation. No? Basahin nyo na lang yan. This is for your information. Kasi ang gusto ko lang talaga i-highlight sa inyo yung tax inspectors without borders. No? Kasi marami yan. And yung reminder ko sa inyo na be very careful and also be prepared of the segmentation of information. Nandyan yan. Oh? Tax-based including segmentation. Oh? So ano itong mga key political issues? Scope, nexus, quantum, principles of elimination, tax certainty, unilateral measures, amount B. Sa technical issues, simplification across all building blocks, revenue sourcing, tax base including segmentation. So very important. Double counting and elimination, design of tax certainty process, tax administration and implementation. Of course, ito yung mga pillars nila, continue pa yung work nila on that, no? And then the pillar 2 outcome for public consultation pa, you read that for your information only. No? And then the pillar 2, and then the capital taxation, no? Future work pa nila. Kaya pinapakita ko lang sa inyo dito yung future of taxation. At sila talaga yung gumagawa ng mga policies. No? Inheritance taxation, no? Tax treaties implications. We have discussed tax treaties kahapon. If you want to know more about tax treaties, continue reading. No? Hindi pwede yung attend lang kayo ng seminar, 2 oras, marunong na kayo. No way. No? Yung reading is very important. Guidance on transfer pricing implication. No? Ayan, no? Bago ito. So, tingnan mo, Hari, kung pwedeng ma-download to, ha? Guidance on transfer pricing implications of the COVID-19 pandemic. No? Ayan dyan, yung for priority niya ng comparability analysis, losses and allocation of COVID-19 cost, government assistance programs, and advanced pricing agreement, no? Kung meron. And then we have the BEPS implementation. Ano yung BEPS? Base erosion and profit shifting. No, ito yung mga anti-tax evasion campaign. International Compliance Assurance Program, no? Yung voluntary program for large multinational enterprise groups. And then the crypto assets, ano yung ba yung treatment ng crypto assets? Part din ito ng ating digital economy, yung ating how to tax the digitized economy. So, continue nyo to, you read this, no? Tax treatment and tax transparency ng crypto assets. This is a very, very new topic. Kaya nga sabi natin, be proactive. And then, tackling ito yung talaga, tackling professional enablers of tax crimes. No? Sino itong mga professional enablers of tax crimes? Can be lawyers, can be tax consultants, can be bookkeepers, kahit sino. No? Highlights the amazing role of professional intermediaries who enable tax evasions and other financial crimes for clients. So, sinong gumagawa ng mga compliance ng taxpayer? Siyempre, may ano yan, hindi man taxpayer yung gumagawa niyan, mga staff or independent consultants, no? Recommend strategies for deterring, disrupting, investigating, and prosecuting professional enablers. In fact, nagawa na to ng ICIJ, yung International Consortium for Investigative Journalism on some uh, lawyers, no? And also accounting firms. No? Okay. Kinakasuhan nila. How do professional enablers facilitate tax crimes and other financial crimes? Setting up companies, trust, or offshore business sila eh. No? Yung mga ginagawa na scheme or uh, tax evasion, siyempre, binabayaran lang naman yung gumagawa doon. No? Obscure beneficial ownership, hide clients' money, falsifying documentation for clients to evade taxation, and also facilitating illegal tax scheme on behalf of clients. No? Kasi as professional, lahat na lang unlimited yung pwedeng ipagawa sa iyo ng client mo eh, no? So, recommend strategies to counter professional enablers, skills and awareness, no? Effective legislation, disruption strategies, cooperation, and effective implementation. So, find out more. Ito, meron silang mga link dito, no? So, basahin nyo and then explore. If you want to be uh, informed always of their programs. Bakit? Kasi diyan tayo sumusunod eh. And even all other countries in the world, diyan sumusunod sa mga ginagawa ng OECD. No? So with this, I would like to say thank you and please answer the poll question and the evaluation sheet and then we will proceed with the questions. So may mga question na sila, Hari?
Meron. Dalawa pa.
Okay. So our third poll question is 3. Professional enablers of tax crimes committed by taxpayers are now the target of tax authorities. No? Letter A, opinion only. Tax professionals like lawyers and accountants are key players in the tax compliance of many companies. B, tax professionals should observe proper ethics in doing their work so as not to sacrifice the integrity of their work. C, many companies were able to escape from the net of taxation because of the help of tax professionals. And D, if the taxpayer have a lot of money, can afford to pay tax professionals, payment of taxes will become an option. No? So your opinion. And then please answer the evaluation sheet and submit. No? In a while, we will answer your question. Payment of taxes will become an option. No? So your opinion. And then please answer the evaluation sheet. Let's now go to question and answer. No? Please, you are invited also to attend our live streaming for basic transfer pricing, and that is every Monday and Wednesday po of the week, every 8 o'clock ng gabi po. No? Meron tayong live streaming palagi. And you can also ask questions no, during our live streaming. Okay. Sige.
First question, ma'am, galing kay Sir John Andre Pelayo.
Okay.
Apo. Why is it these topics like international taxation or transfer pricing, FATCA, etc. are not included in BSA undergraduate curriculum? Would you recommend this to be part of the curriculum?
Actually, pumunta na ako sa, I have so much effort na ginawa po sa transfer pricing. Pumunta na ako sa CHED, no? Sa Commission on Higher Education, para i-include, pumunta ako sa lahat na para i-include, no? Pero yung mga committees sa PRC ang gumagawa. Hindi sila ready because some of them are not aware, no? So paano nila i-include yung bagay na hindi nila alam, no? So I don't know. Kaya nga ang transfer pricing, ang dami ko ring hirap diyan. Pumunta na ako kung saan-saan, even the IBP, sa mga review schools, para lang maging aware sila sa transfer pricing, at pumunta ako sa Congress, no? Lahat ginawa ko para sa transfer pricing. Pero hindi rin in-accept kasi since 2008 pa yan eh. So what happened? And even during the yung amendment nung tax code during the train law, no? Gumawa na rin ako ng diyan sa mga technical committees. Pero hindi pa rin nangyari, no? But what happened? Kaya natuwa ako during sa nangyari sa ABS-CBN eh. Kaya sabi ko, ito na kasi hindi proactive tayo eh, reactive. So ano nangyari during the ABS-CBN, ang daming mga sinabi na about transfer pricing. Saka palang naging aware yung tao, no? Kaya nga nasasayangan ako eh, because when I know transfer pricing noong 2008, sabi ko, ang ganda ng transfer pricing, bakit hindi natin to i-adapt? And then, alam nyo, ako yung kusa na umaattend sa mga international seminars. Tapos sa BIR, yung mga invitations, talagang ina-applyan ko yan. Alam mo, nung umaattend na ako sa Malaysian Tax Academy, kasi naka-attend na ako ng transfer pricing seminars at my own expense. So, nung malaman ko na may mga invitations, nag-a-apply ako, no? Alam mo, anong sabi nung Malaysian Tax Academy, yung in charge nila doon? No, we keep on calling you. No, we keep on calling your office. And they said, we are not interested. Oh my God. Kaya yung tanong mo na yan, Diyos ko, sobrang hirap na naranasan ko dyan para ganun. Pero, kaya I'm so happy dahil doon sa legal ownership and beneficial ownership na in-offer ko sa WIPO, sa World Intellectual Property Office based in Switzerland, talagang ginawa nila kaagad ng paraan. Kaya sabi ko, iba pala yung international kaysa sa local, no? Hindi ko alam. Siguro we will also improve later, baka later, no? And for those na mga bata pa and then proactive, then kakaroon din tayo. And because also of the digitized economy, we can do nothing but kailangan at part yung growth natin sa iba, no? Kasi we already have the facilities. Okay, next.
Next po, ma'am, galing kay Sir Carlo Magno.
Okay.
There is a case before, Fortune Tobacco versus BIR.
Okay.
Under Vinson Chato. Pero natalo ang BIR doon. Transfer pricing din yun. Ano po ang kinatalo ng BIR doon?
Yung case kasi ng Fortune, sa Fortune Tobacco yun eh. Technicalities lang po. Karamihan sa mga cases na involve yung BIR. Alam nyo, technicalities lang ang kinakatalo. Pagdating sa Court of Tax Appeals hanggang sa Supreme Court, technicalities lang, no? Kaya ngayon, pasalamat tayo may mga bagong rules of court, no? Na yung mga dating mga loopholes dun sa technicalities ng mga kaso na cure na nila ngayon. Kagaya halimbawa sa technicalities lang ng pag-serve ng notice. Pero mo talo na kaagad yung case kahit anong merit pa ng case mo. Pag na-prove ng taxpayer na yung nag-receive ng notice niya is not an authorized person, talo na kaagad. Oh my God. And then, na-prove pa na 5 years na sila nagdi-dispute about the assessment. Pagdating sa korte, natalo ang BAR dahil hindi na-receive ang assessment. Sabi ko, hindi ba yan kalokohan? Bakit kalokohan? Eh ano yung pinag-dispute nila ng 5 years kung hindi pala na-receive yung assessment? Eh, sometimes the death of common sense. Kaya, sana, ako ay, wala man naman akong magawa, but I just pray na talagang may changes na mangyayari. Next. Wala na. Okay. So, please continue your study, ha? Hindi yung nagtatapos dito lang sa 2 hours na to. No? You continue and then you expound your knowledge, and if you want, I'm inviting you for our live streaming every Monday and Wednesday, and then you can also ask questions, no? We will bring you their mga cases at saka mga technicalities sa transfer pricing. So with that, I would like to say thank you and happy weekend na sa no? Malapit na. So, and happy new July na pala, no? Happy month. No? Kasi last day ngayon ng June, eh. No? So, June, July na, August, dalawa na lang, ber na, and then 2022 na sana matapos na yung pandemic. So, good luck to everyone.